Political party leaders are going to be voting. We'll see that our president is voting in Nkandla. Helen Zille will be voting in Rondebosch at the church in Rondebosch. Julius Malema in Limpopo. Why? Why are they choosing these particular stations to go cast their vote?
Well, the first one, some people tend to identify with their roots where they were born, and therefore would like to demonstrate that they are still rooted in their own constituencies, and also trying to avoid a situation where they get embarrassed and not get the votes in their own constituencies. But the likes of Nelson Mandela transcended that and said, I would rather appear in another province. That's why he went to Inanda, symbolically saying he has come to report to the former president, Luthuli.
Yeah.
And I'm sure he was also balancing out the perceptions at the time, mainly coming from the IFP, that ANC was Xhosa dominated. So in nowadays, then you do have other people who simply say they will take the closest constituency to where they live, like Kgalema, rather than where their home is.
Yeah. So that's what they would do, is to actually do that. Let's have a look at these visuals now, because I believe that our deputy president is about to go and cast his vote. Now, please do remember that there are no visuals allowed of the actual voting process. We can follow the leader into the tent where they're about to vote, but we can't exactly watch them and film them voting. You saw Terry Tselane, the deputy IEC chair, on the screen, who we did speak to a bit earlier, as you correctly pointed out, to be so. And there's the deputy president getting his 2 ballots. That's exactly what's going to happen to you when you go down to the voting station. You're going to get 2 ballots, so you're going to get the provincial and the national ballot, which you will then mark it.
And just a reminder to the voters as well that your ballot paper must be stamped at the back behind it for it to be a valid ballot. Otherwise, I think it will fall under one of the small ballots, because it has to be ratified by the IC. When you pick it up, stamp to the back, you go in, X marks the spot, or X spots the mark, depending which one you like. But it's also encouraging, as you say, to see the deputy president and a lot of South Africans going out there to vote. And your tweets and your messages are coming in thick and fast. Remember, you can send us your comments. SABC elections is elections at sabc.co.za is our email address. You can also hashtag SABC elections if you're using Twitter. Find us on SABC News Online, and remember to visit the SABC's election page that was launched yesterday. Isaac Mina, in fact, was launched yesterday. We discussed yesterday with the head of digital news, Isaac Mina Riache at the SABC, saying it'll give you up to the minute results in as far as that's concerned.
There you
more
go.
pictures of
on your
the
screen
DP.
now. You're seeing the deputy president of South Africa casting his vote. There's his first one going in, his provincial vote. There we go. And now he's about to put in the national vote, and the camera freezes. But you get the idea. He put that one in the box as well. So the guess is who he voted for.
I was just about to say, who do you think he voted for?
I mean,
Well, I do think that in instances where a person is visited at home, they are more likely going to stick with their parties. But where they go into a place because that ballot paper doesn't tell who you voted for. They may decide to stick with their parties, or they may be angry and sort of do some splitting and say, I'll distribute this one to the other one, and no one will notice.
Exactly. Your vote, my vote is my secret.
Yes.
I'm never going to tell you. All right, that's just capturing the first political party leader voting here in the South African elections of 2014. We'll continue to bring you visuals throughout the morning when the respective party leaders go to their voting stations and put their vote in the ballot box.
And of course, we'll always be speaking to our journalists across the country, as well as our analysts right here. Michael, I'm going to bring in with what Prof has just said, Bob Sumatota. Is there a reason, for example, why you'd want... Okay, I know there's a reason to vote for whichever party you want, it's your democratic right. But the reality of the matter is, especially when it comes to politicians like that, going out to vote where the people are, it has some sort of significance. I mean, the DP could have voted at home, but he chose to go to where the streets are, walk in a queue instead of have the preferential treatment.
And in the process, conveying to people that he belongs to that community. It has a minimal impact insofar as that the people that he's conveying that impression to have already decided to vote. They've already pitched up. But now they can see that this guy is one of them. And maybe it'll persuade a couple of people to look sympathetically upon his party. But But then again, there are a far larger number of opposition, smaller parties, and they'll be trying the same thing.
Because I'm thinking we're sitting here at home and people watching at home are saying, oh, you know what, actually I'm going to go out there. And would it have in any way sway that line of voting for that particular person? Or?
Well, I think one of the problems with what's happening in South African politics over recent years is that the distance between the leaders and the populace has grown. The leaders are seen as somewhat more distant than they were, for example, in Mandela's time. And this type of behavior does narrow that distance, bring the people down to say, no, we're all just people living in a common area.
Let's talk about the elections of 2014. So far, looks quite smooth running. All right, I am reading on Twitter a lot of people saying that some of the voting stations aren't open, 15 to 20 minutes. Some other issues need to be ironed out. But besides areas like Bekkersdal, where we saw a little bit of the hotspots and some violence breaking out last night, are you expecting this to be a very smooth, easy election?
It's most likely going to be smooth and easy. And the isolated spots is what we've always witnessed before.
Yeah.
And now that they have taken place earlier, it means the security will be readier for those hotspots. And again, if you still have protests in those hotspots, it's the small opposition parties which had hoped that in Bekkersdal they'll get something in hotspots where they've always visited in the aftermath of crisis.
Yeah.
If they stay away, it's those small parties which are most likely going to be punished by that. Because a large turnout in those places, you would almost be certain that it would be against the ruling party.
Yeah. Well, that's one of the issues I think that a lot of people are saying, especially in areas like, let's just bring up another hotspot of Marikana. And a lot of people actually saying that this is a vote in defiance of the ANC more than anything, and the EFF campaigning very, very strongly there. Is that an area to watch and to be a little bit concerned about?
I think it's an area to watch. If it is peaceful, you have a high turnout. The parties like UDM, like EFF, which had always been going there, commuting to this hotspot, are more likely going to benefit in that area. But if there is a stay away and people are disenchanted with the establishment in general, the investment of those parties will simply yield very little.
Yeah. All right, well, as we say, though, the polling stations opening very smoothly. Yep. Obviously, a couple of people telling us that there's just a few equipment missing and a few delays of about 15, 20 minutes at some of the voting stations around South Africa. But generally, people reporting very, very positive remarks from the IEC officials that are out there. Polling stations open and voting going smoothly on this 2014 election.
Just some updates from our colleagues out at Research Department saying, remember, on the ballot paper, there'll be 29 political parties on the national ballot and 45 parties on the provincial ballots. And then there's also another, according to another one, in fact, I think the Deputy President is speaking currently after his votes. I think we've taken quickly, going straight through there to his visuals. Let's take a listen.
Accountability and transparency, because that's what, the Constitution enjoins us to do.
And what did you vote for?
I voted for the African National Congress. It's not a secret. Yeah.
What would you like to say to any young person voting for the first time today?
Well, that they should, consider the manifestos of all these parties and vote according to their own consciences.
Deputy President, Lila Magnus, SABC Radio News. You're retiring from politics now. What are you going to do? How are you going to keep busy?
I'm actually not retiring. I'm just, stepping down from government and parliament. But I'm going to be doing work with NGOs, to continue working with young people in particular. Yeah.
Congratulations on your wedding, Deputy President, coming up.
Thank you very much.
Yes. Now you want to share the good news with us?
Thank you very much for that. Yeah. Thank you.
Deputy President, what is your message to the South Africans this morning? Because you are you are among the first people to vote. So what is your message to all the South Africans?
Well, we just encourage everybody to really exercise their right to vote. We are all spoiled for choice. The There are about 29 parties, registered parties. So, I'm sure you can, each South African can find a party that represents his or her interests here.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
That's the Deputy President of the Republic after his vote out earlier, in fact, a short while ago. in
Yeah,
Pretoria.
I love that. So he answered the question we were asking before.
Who did he vote
Which
for?
party did he vote for? He said the ANC. So we've squashed any rumours there. It's quite interesting to see what our Deputy President is going to be doing afterwards. He did say he'll be involved in NGOs, in education, political training. What do you think the future holds in store for Kgalema Motlanthe?
Well, don't discount him coming back in the next ANC leadership contest. By taking time off, distancing himself, one political, figure like him might just be calculating that I have to be outside any controversy, so that those inside start yearning for a person who is neutral, for a person who once showed that he was interested in the position. That's one possibility. The other one, he might just say, well, I've weathered the storms in politics, I need to establish my life outside politics.
Yeah.
And some of the people look at Jimmy Carter in the US. He was deemed to be one of the insignificant in the Cold War sense presidents.
Yeah.
But once he left, he became a global star in terms of his NGO.
Yeah, indeed. Right, we'll continue to watch our Deputy President quite closely, and also his wedding, which he did say, thank you very much for asking about. All right.